The Rendalen Valley is an area with a long history of forestry, hunting and fishing, a history where water has been of the utmost importance, either as a source of food or as a means of transporting timber. Whilst the aesthetic appeal of being by water may have been lost on some of the locals over the years, 19th and 20th century tourists saw the Norwegian landscape through a very different set of eyes. Sport fishing enthusiasts such as George Edward Skewes, renowned scientist and Arctic explorer Fridtjof Nansen listed Rendalen as one of his favourite destinations when it came to fishing, and the massive trout in the river Mistra was cited as the main reason. Sport fishing in Rendalen continues to be popular and is enjoyed by a wide cross-section of fly fishers from all over the world. One of Norway's longest lakes, Storsjön, is for many the most dominant feature in the area. But the story of water does not start here. It starts up in the high mountainous areas, where huge marsh plains suck up rainwater and act like a reservoir for the various rivers and lakes that feed from it. The river Mistra being the biggest and one of the two most important spawning rivers for the massive trout coming out of Storsjön Lake. The Mistra River starts as a 2-foot wide stream, trickling from a small lake and following the path where glaciers once shaped the landscape. Calm and slow flowing in the beginning, it gains in size, strength and speed as it cuts its way through a deep rock canyon. The untamed nature of the terrain demands that certainly in the lower reaches of the Mistral Valley, a decent degree of physical fitness is required. The biggest trout lie in the long, steadier flowing deep sections with fish up to 6 kilos caught every year. Spin fishing or streamer fishing is the only way to get these big fish. The other water system feeding into the big lake is made up of a number of streams that together form the Northern Rainer River, which in turn flows into Lumnesjön, a shallow lake with a good population of northern pike. The estuary of this lake meets up with Mistra, and together they flow into the vast Lake Storsjön. The lake is home to a special strain of big trout that until recent years grew slowly on a diet of Arctic char and whitefish. But that all changed when a new species of prey fish, the freshwater smelt, was introduced. The trout now grow larger and faster, and they've become more abundant. What the long-term effect of the change in the ecosystem will be is still unknown, but for the time being at least, the fishing can be excellent. The other major part of the water system you'll find in the east, where you'll discover examples of the traditional fishing practiced in the area. In the north end of the Sullensjön Lake, for example, you'll find the old commercial fishery, a fishery that, with its large amount of Arctic char and whitefish, had significant importance for the local economy. For sports fishing, the lake has little interest, but the estuary that flows into the Femundsalva River attracts keen fishermen and hosts of kayakers. You'll find an array of small lakes with both trout and Arctic char. They're easily accessible, just as the rest of the area is largely, and they're uncrowded. Rendalen is a living and vibrant municipality where the locals are proud of their fishing heritage, something that's obvious when the yearly family fishing competition, the Fish Fest 2, is held.
Hallo, folkens. Good afternoon and welcome. Damer og herrer, ladies and gentlemen and all the athletes, welcome to us. First we will have some symposiums. And first I'd like to present Mr. Bjørn Otto Dønnum from our main sponsor, Hafslund Eco, and he will have a lecture about hydropower and fish migration in Glomma River. So please welcome to Bjørn Otto.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you for being invited here to this first World Cup finals for the women fly fishers. My name is Bjørn Otto Dønnum. I work at Hafslund Eco hydropower company. I'm a fish biologist. Been a fly fisher since mid-80s. Discovered yesterday up in Unset that I need a bit more precision. But there's plenty of opportunities in this area. You've been fishing in a heavily regulated system for the past 5 days, or 4 days it is. Still, I hope you enjoyed the fishing. It's been quite good, I hope. So, Hafslund Eco, just a few words. We have about 80 power plants in the southern part of Norway. It's the second biggest company after Statkraft. So we have quite a lot of impact on freshwater ecology in the southern part of Norway. There's no doubt about that. But we also do a lot of mitigation measures. That's part of my job. My job is situated... How do I point here? I'll try. So, it's impossible. In Hallingdal and Aurland, that's more to the southwest. That's my main focus area. I live close by Oslo, so I also have the responsibility for environment mitigation in the small power plants around Oslo. You can see it on the map there, I hope. So I've been working in this industry for 11, nearly 12 years now. Today I'm going to show you some examples from the area. Those rings have moved a bit, I see. But the first one is Tolga, that's in the upper part of the map. That's a new hydropower station started last year. And the red ring in the bottom part of the map, that's Storsjøen, the outlet of Storsjøen, Rena, Storsjøen, Mistra. So I'm going to talk about the fish migration systems in these two areas. I could have been there for hours if I was going to talk about all the different fish migration systems we have. On the map here you see a lot of small red dots and also some dots with a white outline. The white outline dots is hydropower stations. The red lines are the tunnel systems. And the red dots is fish migration systems. So I think I'll just jump up to Tolga. Tolga is a run-of-the-river hydropower plant, even though it's an 11-kilometer tunnel. And most of you from Europe are used to run-of-the-river plants, where you have the hydropower units in the dam. But here we have long tunnels. This is quite normal in Norway. But it's no regulation reservoirs connected to it, even though Aursund, which is a bit further up outside of the frame of the map here, is a reservoir. So you can say it is kind of a reservoir plant. Sorry. It's a 60 cubic meters per second capacity. There's 3 turbines. It's about 205 gigawatt hours production per year, so it's quite a big installation. And there was a lot of back and forth with this project. It started with a big dam construction, and well, we also found out that that's too costly. So we landed on a weir instead of, you can see it in the picture there. It's a stone-built weir, rock ramp, with the intake on the side, to the left side in the picture. And so we had to go through quite a few iterations to find the right solution. And there was quite a lot of pre-impact studies done by Nina, and Jon Muset, who's sitting there, was quite important in that work. And I think we've found a very good solution. It's normal to say win-win, but we don't know that yet. It's 1 year since we started operating it, but it's quite a sophisticated system, so I will show you. There is an E-flow, environmental flow, between the intake and outlet or tunnel, 12 cubic meters in May. Some will say that's too little, we'll see. There is a down ramping, which is quite slow, down to 7 cubic in the winter. And then it's 7 cubics until the 30th of April. Of course, there will be some smaller floods, and anything that goes over 60 cubics, or 67 if it's in winter, and 72 if it's in the summer, will of course go through the river. We have a monitoring program, and after 1 year it's too early to say too much, but maybe we will have some results in late 2021, at least preliminary results. And this program will, of course, continue to do monitoring. It's quite important because there's always things to learn that we can use in the other power plants we have. So, just some details. This is from the construction visualizations. And it's a bit of a problem that I don't have a mouse to point on the screen, but maybe I'll try. You can't see it, sorry. So on the upper left, that's kind of a planned situation of the intake structure. So the rock ramp is the gray area, where you have two channels going through it. One is functioning all the time. That's the one to the right, and the one to the left is more like in the flood. And if the water level is above the weir, all the water will go over there, of course. So it will be kind of a full-size rock ramp. The intake goes into a channel where, on the upper right picture, you'll see there is two big racks, and you see a picture of the rack. It's about 150 square meters. Is that correct, John? Yeah. So it's a very big installation, and it's a sloped rack. It's a beta rack. No, alpha rack, I mean. So the flow coming this way, going through the rack, the fish will be guided over the rack into certain special pipe structures that lead the fish out into the river again. So that's the main concept. The bar spacing is 15 millimeter, so it's quite narrow spacing, which means that most fish will not enter. Of course, grayling yearlings will be able to enter there. But when they migrate, most of the water will go over the big weir anyway. So we think this is a good solution to the problems we can see with fish migration and how we hydropower plants. So here's some details of the intake structures. And the monitoring we're doing now is by video camera with a sensor that senses anything that goes past the video stream, and it triggers the video to start recording. So there's going to be quite a lot of TV watching to analyze all the videos. The main physical structure for up and down migration is a vertical slot fishway, which is quite large. The depth is about 4 meters. I thought it was only 2, but it's very large. So you can see also on the other picture on the left, no, the right, the whole kind of migration structure. So there will be monitoring of this site and also the downstream site, the downstream part of the river. And after a couple of years, we'll have to evaluate what kind of success rate we have. But we have high hopes for this. So, over to, just check the time, yeah, while I'm on track. That's just downstream here, in the far end, south end of Storsjön. We have a, not a very big dam, but it's fairly big. It was built in 1968. It took a hell of a lot of time to find the right place to place this dam. So it's kind of downriver a bit from the old outlet of Storsjön, I think. There was built a fishway here, and it's a combination of a pool with large pools spaced with a kind of jumping structure between them, but the upper part is a so-called Denil fishway, which is functions quite well, but it's definitely not ideal for inland fish. So it's more like a salmon fishway, really, but it functions. There was a manually operated fish trapping device, a big cage, and that was started in 1985. The problem is that this trapping device kind of stopped the fish from moving, and a lot of fish probably just swam downstream again. So in 2012, it was replaced by a new system from Vaki over in Iceland, automatic fish counting device with the video surveillance as well. And you can see, I haven't included the figures from pre-installation of this, but it's been quite a few hundred, up to almost 1,000 fish that's moving through the system after this. And from what I remember, it was 1/10 or something like that before this automatic fish counter was placed there. So the monitoring systems must be kind of, I'm lost for words now. It has to be adjusted to the site. You can't just buy something off the rack and put it in. You have to design it for the special conditions that prevail at the dam site. So this being a combination fishway, it's probably should be looked at and see if we can do something better than this. It's not my responsibility. It's a colleague of mine that we're talking about it, and it's a quite a big job because it's integrated into the dam, and dam safety being a big issue in Norway, where well, it's not easy to just rebuild it. But it works. That's a good thing, and it works both ways. And my last picture is taken from some data from a study that the community college at Evenstad, just south of Koppang. Yeah, south of Koppang. They did a radiotelemetry study in 2019 to see how this fishway and the connectivity in the river Storsjön and Mistra, and also northern part of Rena, how this was actually functioning. And there were some interesting results that people haven't really thought about. First of all, the old monitoring system That's already decided in 2019. That was out, so the new system is important. That it's not intrusive. That the fish will just pass as it wants to. It's not caught and tagged and things like that. Except for this study, of course, they had to radio tag them. The migration pattern is also very interesting because a lot of people think fish migrate for the spawning activity, and maybe in the spring for feeding opportunities. But it's more complicated than that. They go out into Storsjön, some go back, some stay in the lower part the whole year. Some go into Storsjön and will just stay there, probably feeding. And a lot of fish went also up Mistra. Very fast, some of them migrated up into Mistra. And the local fisherman knows that, yeah, early June, that's when it's happening. A lot of fish are migrating upstream in early June. So learning about these fish migration systems, there are points here that I can take over to Hallingdal and implement there. We have not a same system as here, but we have some similarities, and we can learn from these studies, definitely. And it's also very important to kind of manage the whole system as a unity, not having a management system in Rena, in the south part of the system, another regulation in Storsjön, a third regulation in Mistra. You have to look at it as a whole. And also it's very interesting to see that none of the fish that were tagged, 98 fish, actually used the northern Rena. They just went up Mistra. And if you stand down at the confluence of the two rivers, which is the bigger? Yeah, of course, most water comes from Rena. It's a bit curious. So what we have learned is, yeah, we need reliable data, and we need to do monitoring over longer periods. And we need to do it in the right way. And the right way is not to interfere with the fish too much. So I think I'm on time. Yeah. Yeah, well, it's been very interesting for me to be here a couple of days. Competition fly fishing isn't really that much of a spectator sport. But yeah, it's been interesting being here, and thank you for your attention.
Okay. Please follow the. Thank you, Bjørn Otto Dønne. We would like to give you a little gift for this. Thank you.
Something for the wife. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tusen takk.
Yes. The next lecture we will listen to is from a senior research scientist from the Norwegian Institute for Nature Research. That's Dr. Jon Museth. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Chair, organizing committee, participants, fly fishers, Rendøler, thank you for inviting me. I will talk about the fish communities in Rendalen. We have a high diversity of fish communities in this part of Norway. And I will also talk about how the natural conditions for fish production can vary between different systems. And a few words about management implication. But first, I will say that in Norway we are used to have water everywhere. We have a lot of lakes, small lakes, large rivers, small streams. Sometimes we feel that we lack water. For example, now it's a discussion about electricity production next winter, because of the water level in the regulated lakes are quite low. And sometimes we have too much water and we experience large floods. But we have to remember that water is really living ecosystems. So during these days, you have experienced a lot of different ecosystems in Rendalen and Stor-Aurdalen. But it's not only fish, but we have a high diversity of both insects and plants in our freshwater ecosystems. And it's no doubt that water also is very important for us. Not only for fishing, but of course that's the most important thing, is that we can fish in water. But as Bjørn Otto told you, we use it for hydropower production, we use it for drinking water, transportation, and a lot more. We are in a part of the world we still have very healthy freshwater ecosystems. But it's very important that we cannot take living waters for granted. If we look worldwide, we experience actually destruction of nature and climate that threaten freshwater ecosystems globally, but also nationally. We are talking about a global biodiversity crisis in freshwater. And it's species in freshwater that disappear at the highest rate in the world today. So it's urgent need to restore freshwater ecosystems. We are actually now in the UN Nations Decade for Nature Restoration. But also we have to stop destroying freshwater ecosystem. We have to think twice when we, for example, will build new hydropower plants and, for example, to carry out new physical flood protection measures. So we cannot just restore the ecosystems, we also have to stop to destroy them. But as I told you, the situation in Rendalen is quite good. Rendalen still have very many healthy freshwater ecosystems. I hope you have experienced that during these days. On a Norwegian scale, we have quite high diversity of fish species. That's due to the immigration history after our last ice age. In Norway, after the last ice age, fish migrated both from west and east and south. And we have quite many fish species in this part of Norway because we have both the immigrants from west, like trout, char, and sticklebacks, but we also have a lot of species that migrated from east, and that's species like whitefish, perch, pike, the European grayling, and many other species. So that means that this area can offer a lot of different fishing. And as in my introduction I said, and also in Rendalen we have large lakes like Storsjøen, Sørensjøen, but we also have small lakes, and we have deep lakes, shallow lakes, and large rivers and small streams. So, but let's talk about fishing. It can mean different things for different people. For some, it's just joy. It can be recreation, excitement, relaxation, competition, you know all about that. Everything else than competition, tourism, local traditions. We will hear more about the traditional fishing later. Catch and release, catch and eat, I practice that. We have new methods all the time. We have commercial fishing, and so on. So fishing can mean so different things for different people. This is a picture of me. It's not from yesterday. That was when I was a kid. I was mostly fishing for fun or joy. So it's not that easy to be a fish manager. So how shall we manage our rivers and lakes? Because we cannot please everyone. Some people want to catch large fish, and some are happy to catch small fish. So that's, for example, in Rendalen, we have plenty of beautiful nature. Maybe we lack big cities, but that doesn't matter because nature is more important. But for example, I know that many of you have visited the fishing village at Fiskevollen. Long traditions with commercial fishing after char and whitefish. But also we have specialized fishing in Åkrestrømmen, in the river, not far from here. For example, deep net fishing after whitefish on spawning migration in the autumn. And we have Lake Storsjøen. You can actually catch trout up to 10 kilos in this lake. Not yet, but soon. And we have many lakes with northern pike. And we have this famous trout fishing in River Mistra. That was the famous favorite river to the Nobel Peace Prize winner Fridtjof Nansen, for example. In general, we can say that we have wilderness areas, quietness, and it's not too crowded. But what kind of fish population do we have? Because it can differ a lot between different rivers and different lakes. So what's important is non-biological conditions, like the water chemistry. It is nutrition rich or nutrition poor. Water temperature has a lot to say, and also the morphology of both the river and the lake. Is it deep? Is it shallow? For example. And we have different biological conditions. What food items do the fish have? Do you have large, for example, crustaceans like Gammarus lacustris, Lepidurus arcticus? Are they fish eating? Which other fish species are present? And of course, also how do we manage the lakes? So, what's important, especially if you talk about trout, is how is the recruitment conditions, for example, to the trout population in a lake. Some lakes have large spawning areas. For example, long rivers, so we have a lot of spawning areas. But other lakes can have small spawning areas. So in some lakes you will have a sparse population of trout, and in other lakes you can have very dense populations of trout. And the mortality can differ, also due to fishing. And also in some lakes you have high individual growth, and other lakes they stop growing after maybe when they are 25-30 centimeters. We cannot get big fish everywhere. In some lakes, rivers, we have low annual recruitment, quite low densities of fish, high individual growth rate, and you really have a potential for large individuals, like the situation is in, for example, Lake Storsjøen. But then they can be large if they are allowed to survive. So that means if you want to have big fish, you have to let the fish live. But in other lakes, we have high annual recruitment, very high densities of fish, and you have this individual growth stagnation. So in these lakes, good fish quality depends on high fishing pressure. For example, if you see the picture to the right, it's enough fish. I will say a few words about the unique trout population in Lake Storsjøen. This is what we in Norway call storørret. I know that in Scotland and Ireland you call it ferox, but it's large fish-eating trout. So the reason that they grow so fast is that they eat fish, so they have a high individual growth rate. And these almost live like a salmon or a sea trout. They migrate to the river Mistra and also other rivers to spawn. Then they stay there for 2, 3, 4 years, and they migrate into the lake and use the lake as the sea. And they grow fast in the lake. I know that not everybody agree with me, but I will say that it's a myth that they are hard to catch and that they are sly or very, very intelligent. Actually, they are quite easy to catch, especially on gill nets, but also rod fishing and trolling. So if you don't get the large fish, maybe you are fishing too hard. So I think that in these lakes, fishing regulations are very important, as the case is today. Just see on this, you see the age of the fish and the length of the fish. And you see, this is from a fish competition in Storsjön a few years ago. And you can see that on the growth curve that they grow quite fast, but you can also see that you don't have many old fish in the population. You can see that you have one 12-year-old fish, and that was actually 80 centimeters long. So if you want more of those, you should let them live longer. Okay, but Rendalen offers a lot more than trout. We have healthy European grayling populations. That species is actually red listed in several countries in Europe. And for example, you can also fish northern pike, and you can also catch the really large ones. And we have whitefish and Arctic char and long traditions with commercial fishing, but more from the last speaker about that, and much more. So that's what I wanted to say. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much, Jon.
Jo. No, ikke. I haven't won anything, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, the third lecture we will listen to is from Gudmund Nygaard. He is a senior consultant from Hunting and Fishing in iNatur Norge. So please welcome Gudmund Nygaard.
Yes, thanks for the invitation. I should talk a little about the development of inland fishery as a tourist attraction for local value creation. My name is Gudmund Nygaard. I have worked with the development of inland fishery and salmon angling for the past 15 years. Sorry. There. I work in a company called iNatur Norge AS. iNatur.no is the largest digital marketplace in Norway for inland fishery, salmon angling, small game, big game, and cottage rental. For fishing, the sale are mostly fishing licenses. We also have a website called fishbot.no, the best inland fishery in Norway. Fishbot.no, the iNatur is the owner of this website too. Fishbot.no is a collection of the best inland fishery offers for marketing outside Norway. So we use Fishbot.no to marketing the offers outside Norway. In collaboration with the Norwegian Institute for Nature Research, NINA, we conducted a survey to look at the money consumption of hunters and fishermen in Norway, the consumption of goods and services by anglers and hunters in Norway 2018. And that's interesting. The survey showed that fishermen spend a lot of money on goods and services, which is the basis for local value. So the fishing licenses are only a bit of the money the fishermen use when they go on a fishing trip. And we also have some details of the consumption. And for inland fishery, 10%, sorry, here we are on, let's see, there. For inland fishery, 10% of the total consumption goes to buy fishing licenses. 90% of the consumption goes to goods and services. For salmon fishing is a bit more expensive. So there goes among 30% of the consumption to licenses and 70% goes to goods and services. So in detail, what do fishermen spend money on? And this is for inland fishermen while they are going on a fishing trip. Of the total consumption, they spend 25% on food, and most of this money they use on the local grocery store. 18% on accommodation, 18% on transportation, 13% of fishing gear, 10% to buy fishing licenses, 8% on other goods, 5% on guiding, and 3% on other services. So fishermen, they not only use money for fishing licenses, they use also a lot of money local. And in our work, we have seen that it's some important points and experience in the development of fishing offers for local value creation. And the first point, the landowners need some help. They need assistance with organization and cooperation to make a good fishing offer. And they need consulting in work with product development and research management. For the market, we help and we work with organize and facilitate and clarify the offers so we hit the relevant target groups. Fly fishermen, they need offers for fly fishermen, and family fishermen, they need offers for that. And very important, local goods and services need to be marketed together with the fishing offers. And that's because so the fishermen and the visitors know where they can buy local goods and services. Increased value creation facilitate that fishermen can buy local goods and services, of course. You can't only market it. You also need to have need to work so they buy it. And also, very important, you need the system and infrastructure, digital systems for booking and selling, and digital system for marketing. And digital systems of marketing are very important because most of the marketing for fishing and other goods and services, they are digital. So in the end, I want to show a short film. Maybe you have seen it before this week. Men that's a film I Natur and Fishbåt made in cooperation with Rendalen kommune and the landowners in Rendalen. So I will say thank you, and I stop to show that film.
The Rendalen Valley is an area with a long history of forestry, hunting and fishing. A history where water has been of the utmost importance, either as a source of food or as a means of transporting timber. Whilst the aesthetic appeal of being by water may have been lost on some of the locals over the years, 19th and 20th century tourists saw the Norwegian landscape through a very different set of eyes. Renowned scientist and Arctic explorer Fridtjof Nansen listed Rendalen as one of his favourite destinations when it came to fishing, and the massive trout in the river Mistra was cited as the main reason. Sport fishing in Rendalen continues to be popular. One of Norway's longest lakes, Storsjön, is for many the most dominant feature in the area. The story of water does not start here. It starts up in the high mountainous areas, where huge marsh plains suck up rainwater and act like a reservoir for the various rivers and lakes that feed from it. The river Mistra being the biggest and one of the two most important spawning rivers for the massive trout coming out of Storsjön Lake. The Mistra River starts as a 2-foot wide stream, trickling from a small lake and following the path where glaciers once shaped the landscape. Calm and slow flowing in the beginning, it gains in size, strength and speed as it cuts its way through a deep rock canyon. The biggest trout lie in the long, steadier flowing deep sections, with fish up to 6 kilos caught every year. Spin fishing or streamer fishing is the only way to get these big fish. You'll find smaller resident fish in the calm upper parts, which are more responsive to gentler methods. The other water system feeding into the big lake is made up of a number of streams that together form the Northern Rainer River, which in turn flows into Lumnesjön, a shallow lake with a good population of northern pike. The estuary of this lake meets up with Mistra, and together they flow into the vast Lake Storsjön. The lake is home to a special strain of big trout that until recent years grew slowly on a diet of Arctic char and whitefish. But that all changed when a new species of prey fish, the freshwater smelt, was introduced. The trout now grow larger and faster, and they've become more abundant. What the long-term effect of the change in the ecosystem will be is still unknown, but for the time being at least, the fishing can be excellent. Trolling is the most common method for catching these fish in the lake, and it's a technique that has been used by locals for centuries. Those interested in trying this time-honoured technique will be pleased to learn that there are boats to rent at the lakeside. The other major part of the water system you'll find in the east. In the north end of the Sullensjön Lake, for example, you'll find the old commercial fishery. A fishery that, with its large amount of Arctic char and whitefish, had significant importance for the local economy and survival of the inhabitants. For sports fishing, the lake has little interest, but the estuary that flows into the Femundsalva River attracts keen fishermen and hosts of kayakers. You'll find an array of small lakes with both trout and Arctic char. These are easily accessible, just as the rest of the area is largely, and they're uncrowded. Rendon is a living and vibrant municipality where the locals are proud of their fishing heritage. Something that is obvious when the yearly family fishing competition, the Fish Fest, is held.
Thank you very much, Gudmund. Small gift.
Tusen takk.
And then we will introduce the last person, and he will have a presentation of Sølensjøen fishery. The ladies, they know the Sølensjøen, and I think they have good memories from that area. So let's welcome Dag Odne Sandbakken, previous chairman of Sølensjøen Lotterilag.
Me ladies and lords of fly fishing, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take you through a small story of Fiskevollen and Sølensjøen, whom some of you have visited already, and if you haven't been there, you're welcome. Let me first establish my credentials. Next, that's the green button. The most spectacular about this picture of himself is how much smaller the whitefish has become over the years. It used to go from the hip down, and now it's from sort of semi-below the knee and down. So there's been a slight development over the years. But Sølensjøen is basically, and Fiskevollen has been a family venture from 20 farms originally down in the valley who established themselves at Fiskevollen. And I'm a descendant of one of these families who have had the privilege to been able to establish themselves and live at Fiskevollen throughout the years. Sølensjøen is about 16 kilometers long, 1.5 kilometers wide, and incredibly fish-rich. Very good nutrition there. And it's been mapped and fished through the centuries, so all the various fish spots have names, and we have depth charts and everything to help us fish. However, everything has changed over the years. But here you see Fiskevollen. The old folks knew where they were situating themselves in a shallow, quiet bay where they could build their houses and settle this fishing community many, many hundred years ago. A beautiful spot under the mountain of Storsølen, which is 1755 meters tall, high. So Fiskevollen was established long before the Viking ages. Here you see some finds made at Fiskevollen. These are from approximately 900 before Christ. And you see hunting and fishing has been a prominent part of previous generations. Even before the Viking ages, there has been settlements and fisheries in Fiskevollen, so we can date this several thousand years back. Eventually, they started building small cottages, and they were 5 by 3 meters, where they could live communally, 4 people, four not beds, but wooden benches around the walls, fireplace in the middle, and that's where they stayed initially, because, as you know, there's 30 kilometers across the mountain, and in the old days, that took a day to get there, and you had to use a horse, no carriages, to freight things back and forth. So the picture to the left is early 1900s, and you see this little building, which was typical. They put in a chimney now, so they have an oven, and the horses and the sledge where they could take fish back. You see the same cottage in the middle 10 years later. Then they've added to it, so that's when things started to expanding at Fiskevollen. But the oldest standing house there now, I think, is from 1754. We have a one of the cottages to the left, that is from late 1600s, and that's the oldest building still standing at Fiskevålen. And the society evolved, and we got kings. Quote, those were persons who made the mark on the society. So we've had kings through the years. The first one to the left, his title wasn't exactly honorary because he took privileges that weren't his to take. So it was a semi-mock title. But the other guys have contributed and been essential people at Fiskevålen and Sølensjøen throughout the times, established themselves through the work that they are doing. This guy, Ola Semming, he created the infrastructure and the regulations that are in place to take Fiskevålen on. I called my little speech here gold and silver. And here's the gold. The char is native to this area and was sort of the first fish they fished. And this was money. Char was money. It could be sold for good money in Oslo and other cities. So this was what they went for. And they had little fishing cabins in the south of the lake, because Sølensjøen is basically two lakes. You have one open one to the north and one with a lot of little islands and inlets and shallows in the south where the char spawns. So this is with the first boat with an inboard engine, and then they took all the other boats and then went south. It took a day to row, almost. But with a boat, you could do it in a couple of hours. With today's boats, 20 minutes. And then they lived in these small cabins, 4 of them, divided up after very, very specific regulation, how much you could fish, how often you could fish, with how many nets you could fish. And that's my grandfather there to the right. And the picture from the left is from 1929. And that day, these guys caught 700 char. And they did that by gill nets and not, which is kind of a trap net which you pull in. And you see that to the right. They were out in the open waters, found a shallow, and netted in the fish that was spawning at that area. So fast forward to the silver. The seek, the whitefish, which was introduced more or less accidentally in the beginning of the 1900s at the river flowing into Sølensjøen. And eventually that took over. And whitefish was food. Char was money. So this could feed families through the winter in the hard 20s and 30s, and was very valuable to keep people alive. And there is a story saying that a son down in the valley who was to inherit the farm, he chose the fishing rights in the mountain ahead of the farm in the valley, because it was more valuable at the time. We do fishing mostly with gill nets. We used to do that. That was the preferred methods, that and netting, for centuries. And huge quantities were netted that way. Some 10, 15 years ago, we changed to trap nets, which, as you can see, a long lead net into the trap net. This changed the dynamics of the catch profoundly, because previously you could only net the fish that actually stuck to the net. Not bigger, not smaller, but that size. Here you could catch everything from small fish to big fish and all species. So that has profoundly changed the way we are fishing, and it's of course less laborious. And here we have Hilde, who's many of you know, emptying a trap net some years ago, and considerable amounts of fish. We delivered that fish to a processing plant at Femund, and they made smoked and gravsik and all kinds of peppered sik and all kinds of fish products. And that went on for several years so we could utilize all of the fish. Obviously, there's only whitefish is one thing. We have trout, we have pike, we have burbot, and also bass in the lake, in addition to the other species. This is a small table over how much we caught. And if you see, in 1914, we netted 25 metric tons. So it's producing a lot of fish. And it has to be fished a lot in order to stay healthy. Back to char fishing, which is sort of the romantic thing going on in the south of the lake from 4 cottages. Very beautiful nature. You go out early in the morning and you see the nature change. Highly regulated, as I said, this lake is divided into blocks, and you could only fish, just like you guys did now, in certain parts of the lake. If you were living in that particular cabin, you could only fish here on these shallows. Unfortunately, that is a bygone area. There are not anyone who has been in these southern cabins for the last years. I think I was one of the very last who stayed there. But we're still trying to revive the char fishing for future generations. And we're seeing here some of the shallows from above, very visible, where you can go and fish. But due to the warming of the climate, there is more green stuff on the stones and on the shallows, which makes it harder for the char to spawn, which has probably contributed to, you see here, it's a lot of shallow, and the stones are more green. But way back in the days, we were out there fishing every morning, various people, late September, October, snow on the ground, pretty darn cold, but absolutely lovely. And the more fish you caught, the more work there was afterwards, sitting out there in the snow and trying to make the fish. So why was char gold? You could make it into rakfisk, which is fermented fish, highly appreciated in Norway. Evil tongues would have it to say that the fermented char is a rotten fish. No, it's not. I call it Norwegian sushi. I've served it to people from all over the world, and I have had no refusals whatsoever, from Japanese to South Americans, South Africans, and everyone, and they love this stuff, which has then a life in a bucket with salt and sugar and a little water for 3 months before it's ready to eat. Being in the southern small cabins, of course, you had to meet up and have a small feast afterwards. And here are some of the old fishermen, most of them dead now, apart from myself and another guy, I think. Here they are after 3 glasses of akvavit, very happy. And you probably recognize Håvard Øyen, who lived just down here, and Rode Vardenær, those of you who are local. Very happy, and a little red cheeks there late at night. And then heading home with the catch on a grey October day, and this was that year's catch. So, how do we further char fishing, which is now dead in its old form? Well, we created some 4 years ago a char project, where we invite in the younger generations, the heirs of the current owners, to take part in this. So we arrange a weekend where they can come and participate, be with us old folks, and learn how to fish, both the old ways and the new ways, so we can pass on the traditions of yesteryears into today's context. And we also use this opportunity to gather a lot of data and knowledge to be able to make decisions for further char fishing. So this is 2019. Beautiful autumn day, where we have prepared our nets to go out and fish, and every net is marked with how long it is, how deep it goes, how wide it is, and so forth. And then we go out and place them using today's methods by scanners and seeing the bottom and how that looks. And then netting it both with gill nets and also we've tried trap nets, but char doesn't respond very well to trap nets. Beautiful, beautiful late fall pictures here, and you see some of the shallows. We left a photographer there. We had a photographer from a major Norwegian newspaper, and we left her out there on one of the shallows, and the water only reached her to the ankles. And she thought that was very exotic, being in the middle of the lake, looking around. Taking the fish back in, char, of course, we get bycatch of other things. For rakfisk, fermented fish, it has to be cleaned very, very carefully in clean water, not be in touch with the soil whatsoever. Then we measure, weigh, look for parasites, and make notes of all the statistics. Before we treat it, as they've done for centuries, by putting some salt and sugar in special measurements, adding water, putting a clean stone on top so it goes under pressure, and then it rests until Christmas time. And it's a delicacy. But catches are now very low, so we are looking into what to do with that. And after the Young People's Project, of course, we have a feast. So everyone comes together and we eat fish that has been caught before, drink a lot, boast a lot of how much fish we've caught, and have a jolly good time. So that's one way we try to further the traditions from centuries into new generations at Sølensjøen, to still keep it alive and valuable for generations to come. But Fiskevål and Sølensjøen isn't just fishing. That's the foundation. But we also have a total cultural environment to take care of. I mentioned in my introduction the buildings. And the middle building is the old building where they used to live in, one of them, from late 1600s. And we started a preservation project a couple of years ago to take care of these and restore them to their former glory. And for that work, we did get the Cultural Heritage Prize 2022, not only for the buildings, the fisheries, but the total environment that Fiskevål and Sølensjøen is. So how about the future with fishing? Obviously, seek whitefish isn't the most popular fish around. And I don't know why, because I've been in the US on the Great Lakes where they do huge commercial fishing of whitefish. And any restaurant with some self-respect has at least 5 whitefish dishes on the menu. Not so in Norway. It has a slightly worse reputation. However, we have found gold in silver, and that is the roe. Restaurants all over the world, and in Norway, Michelin restaurants, they pay huge sums of money for a kilo of roe, which they use in various. So we now have ongoing a delivery every fall, where everything we catch of whitefish goes to a plant. They take out the roe, and then they process the rest to seakake, like you had the burgers you had, and so we're now back into commercial side of fishing, which promises good for the future of Sølensjøen and Fiskevål. There is a life after 2022. So thank you, everyone. It's been a pleasure being here. Yeah,
Please. Wait. Thank you, Dagone.
Thank you very much, Linda.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, people. It's time to stretch your legs a little bit. We will take a break from the stage for 50 minutes. it's possible to, we will show some presentation, movies, pictures from the last days. If you need it, it's a restaurant room to your right-hand side. And it's also possible to buy a coffee or something, if you like. So approximately in 50 minutes, we will come back here on stage and start up the next step of this program. Thank you. Excuse me, people. Just to repeat it, it's 15 minutes, then we will start up again. 5 minutes, 15 minutes. Thank you.
det mest ryddig å stå ved deg nå, eller skal jeg komme?
Mine damer og herrer, da går vi litt videre. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Ok, mine damer og herrer, velkommen til da medaljeseremoni og denne da avslutningsseremonien til det første World Ladies Flyfishing Championship og det 26. European Flyfishing Championship. Ladies, yeah, okay. Hopefully you all understand it. And ladies and gentlemen, athletes, and all controllers, sector judges, and all the FIPS Mooch representative, welcome to this prize-giving ceremony and closing ceremony. First, we like to remind us a little bit what have we experienced the last days. The athletes have fight for good results during 5 different sessions. And after 5 sessions with different challenges in river and lake, we have seen the results. And the results we will present a little bit later. I'm really proud of all the good work the local organization have helped us with. All the controllers have done a very good job. They have supported us, been supported to the athletes, and we have had, I'm sure all of you have had good experience. And on behalf of Norske Konkurransefluefiskers Forbund, Norwegian Flyfishing Federation, I'd like to thank you all for that you have been with us during this first FIPS Mooch World Ladies Fly Fishing Championship and also the 26th FIPS Mooch European Fly Fishing Championship. Then I'd like to introduce the mayor of Rendalen Municipality.
Dear athletes, sponsors, volunteers, guests, and friends. All good things must come to an end, they say. And now we are at the end of the first FIPS Mooch World Ladies Fly Fishing Championships and the 26th FIPS Mooch European Fly Fishing Championships. Sport for years has brought people together all around the world. Sport has the potential to unite people. And this week, our common language has been fly fishing. Both Stor-Aurdal and Rendalen are extremely proud to have been the host municipalities. There has been a great interest for the championships, and I'm absolutely sure that the sport has gained a lot of new supporters. For the athletes, I hope you have discovered the great nature and the good fishing. You're welcome back at any time. A big thanks to everyone for this memorable week. Thank you.
Yes. The next step in the program will be to giving prizes for the individuals for the 26th FIPS-MOOSH European Fly Fishing Championship. So could I please ask Ingvild Ørdal and Stefan Allikat to come to the stage? The bronze medalist for the European Fly Fishing Championship is from France. Let us give a good applause to Jean-Guillemot Mathieu. Good work. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And then we will present the silver medalist from Finland, Jussi-Pekka Myllymäki. That's good. Good with a good teammates. And gold medal winner is from Italy, Luigi Brunelli. And please, the national anthem of Italy. Okay, if you like to take picture of all 3 winners, bronze, silver, and gold medalists, please come and take picture.
I'm not involved in the next one. Yes. Goal. France also for goal.
Luigi.
Goal.
Oi. Okay, thank you. One more applause. Could I ask the mayor of Storeldal Municipality, Even, come up, and first vice president of Fifth Smooch, Paul, to enter? Yes, now we like to give prizes for the bronze, silver, and gold medalist as team in the 26th Phipps Moosh Fly Fishing Championship. First, we like to announce the team of the bronze. They are smiling, as I can see. Team Finland, welcome to the stage.
Är du sponsor eller?
Ja. Congratulations. Congratulations. Okay, give them a big applause. Okay, then we like to introduce the silver medalist, a little bit further south or in Europe. Please welcome Team Spain. If you please. This medal. This. I can come with it. Okay. And the gold winner of 26 fifth Smooth Fly Fishing Championship, Team France. Big applause. Please rise for the national anthem of France. Okay, I'm sure somebody wants some picture of you, so please stand a little bit and give us some good smiles. Okay, be happy. Okay? Okay, thank you very much. Du kan jeg går. Ta dere og hente inn de nye medaljene. Yes. And then it's time to give prizes to the ladies. And that we are really proud of. This is the first FIPS Moosh Fly Fishing Championship for ladies. Unfortunately, it starts raining, so I will speak a little bit quicker. We will start with the individual list. And first, the bronze medalist will be, or that lady, is Marketa Porchokava. And the silver medalist is also from Czech Republic. Katarina Svagrova. And if that wasn't enough, also the gold medalist is from Czech Republic, Teresa Rutova. Congratulations. And please rise for the national anthem of Czech Republic. Hi. Let's go. Stopp. Ja, fan. Hvor er han? Å, faen. Der var deg. Sorry for that. Cameras come. Gjør. Biggest apologies. That was checked before today, but that he pushed the wrong. I have two of them, but I have to be secure that they are right now. That's what I was afraid of. Yes. First of all, a big apologies for that mistake. I'm sorry for that. I'd like to mention also for the ladies Czech team, the fourth place also was a lady from the Czech Republic. It's very impressive. Then I'd like to ask Linda and Paul are there, and Stefan. Yeah. Yes. Okay, then we are all up here. We go further on with the teams medalists, and I think it's some ladies are smiling really good now. The team is a really trophy. And the third place, the bronze medalist, are Norway. Idrettsgrad. Har du 3 seter etter? Ja vel. Og klemmer. Hva senere? And then the second place, the silver medalist, are Finland. And the first place gold medalist is this impressive fly fishers from Czech Republic.
I can speak for an hour.
And please raise for the national anthem of Czech Republic. Okay. Thank you and congratulations to all of the medalists, the winners. Let me introduce for you the General Secretary of FIPS Mouche, Stefan Aleka.
Good afternoon or good evening all. Cardo just told me that we are a bit ahead of schedule, so I have some extra time. I can talk a bit longer, but I won't. I assure you I won't. I will just stick to my speech. Welcome to all authorities from the region of Stor, Elfdal and Rendalen, the mayors in particular. Thank you for being here. Organizers, judges, competitors, welcome all. I think it's safe to say that all of us have enjoyed our stay in Norway, taking in the beautiful nature, the fauna, the flora, the diversity of the landscapes, and for sure the beautiful and pristine rivers Glomma and its tributaries we had the joy of fishing. The lake of Solensjøen was spectacular in all aspects. We have heard of it before during the speeches just before this. I had the privilege of viewing it from the boat, as you anglers have done, and have some very nice pictures on my phone. I should like to thank all involved in the organization of these championships. Not just Kato, Nuno, Morton, but really everybody. Beat controllers, sector judges, international supervisors, and the local community and clubs in providing the fishing locations. I should particularly like to congratulate the beat controllers. They were really well educated and performed magnificently, taking care of fish during measuring and releasing back into the water. Paul and I were witness of this at several locations we were able to visit. I should now like to address a few words to the competitors, or should I say athletes. Probably the latter is correct, as the fishing conditions during competition have been very tough indeed. High water levels required some extreme wading skills and casting techniques. Hooking and bringing a 45 centimeter grayling to the landing net in heavy current requires both skill and physical strength. Nevertheless, some good results were achieved. Just a few figures. During the European Championship, a total number of 2,686 fish were caught. The ladies got 836. Average sizes of above 30 centimeters on most sectors. I must say a few words regarding the very first World Ladies Championship. Congratulations to you all on your participation. We can only hope that you all will be ambassadors for our sport, and that thanks to these first championships, the ladies sport fly fishing community will grow further. See you next year, I hope, in British Columbia, Canada, September 2023. Of course, we hope to see all the men in Portugal, Covilhã, in May 2023. Totally different conditions compared to Norway, I can assure you. And now it's time for just the final act I have to perform. I now declare the 26th FIPS Mouche European Fly Fishing Championship and the very first FIPS Mouche World Ladies Fly Fishing Championship officially closed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. As Stefan told, we are ahead of the schedule. So the next on the program will be dinner at Storstua in Koppang. The bus is ready to leave, so you don't need to sit out there and wait. So thank you very much, and see you over there.